All right, and welcome back in here to the AM Drive on this NLL Thursday, and we are presented by Fanatics. It's very simple. You got to get the best in NLL merch by going to mikeandaarondrive.com and clicking the F, and when you do, it takes you into Fanatics, and you go to the NLL section and click Add to Cart and repeat that as many times as you possibly can. And when you do that, it helps out the AM Drive tremendously, and it helps us bring awesome guests like the one we have in front of us here on the show, Mr. Cooper Perkins, founder of LAXmetrics.com, and of course, the Seals play-by-play man. Happy to have you aboard, and thank you so much for taking time to join us.
If you guys are happy to have me and think that I'm some kind of big time guest for you, then that's an indictment on your show, boys. I don't know what to tell you.
We are happy to have everyone on here from Cooper Perkins to Callum Crawford and everyone in between. We are so grateful for all of you guys, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to be here. You gave me a great tease leading in. We're going to talk some lacrosse, talk a little bit of burrito action, and I'm excited to be here. Appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. Let's get right down to it, Mike.
Yeah.
What's that first question? We want to talk about LA Metrics. I'll let you ask it.
Yeah, for real. So what made you want to start this? Because if I'm not mistaken, it's like an analytics thing for lacrosse. It's got to be instrumental in the whole lacrosse game. Tell us about this and what made you get into it and what it's all about.
Yeah, it's just kind of on its ground floor, just picking up a little bit of momentum. But I grew up a huge baseball fan, and I feel like everyone's pretty well aware of just how pervasive advanced stats and metrics are in baseball. And I kind of wanted to see if there was a way to maybe find a bridge between that universe and the lacrosse universe that really hasn't had any kind of interesting developments in its stat keeping and things of that variety. And as long as the sport's been around, so the inspiration came from not being super convinced by the assist category and the second assist, the first assist, and kind of not sure that really told us anything. So I set out to try and find some stuff that did tell us things, and that's where the LAXmetrics.com comes in, and that's LAXmetrics.com. So feel free to give it a visit and check it out if you're either into lacrosse, statistics, or math. I think there might be something there for you.
Well, I'm sure stats help a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything. When you can put numbers to it, it gives you a little bit more context. And I think that there's in lacrosse especially, we default to the eye test, the things that we see, because that's how it's been done forever. But a lot of times numbers tell us things that are different from what our eyes show us. And sometimes they tell us the same thing. So it's interesting to have that second half of the discussion to be able to engage with and, have some more interesting conversations than just, hey, just see that pass. There's more to it than just that,
I think, Mike, that would be a good site for us. We're still technically a little noob to the game, cutting our teeth on it. We grew up so far with the rush. Right now, I know there's a big game here coming up between those two teams, our team and your team. So we'll get into that a little bit later on in the interview here. But let's talk about you, Cooper Perkins, and your story and how that all led to getting involved in the NLL and being where you are today, which is play-by-play guy for the San Diego Seals, who, in short, have obviously got out to a great start, holding on right now. I know the Mammoth have jumped the Seals and things aren't going as great, but, just give us a little bit of background into who you are and how you got to this point.
Well, if you need a bathroom break or to go get yourself some more coffee, now's the time to do it. No one seems to hear that from me. But no. To answer your question, I'm originally from Southern California in the U.S. I grew up playing the field lacrosse game, so I always had a passion for it, and went to school to be a sports broadcaster and bounced around and did the thing for 5-6 years after school, and then at the start of COVID, moved back down to Southern California to try and put in some geographic roots. And the Seals job came open, and with my growth as a lacrosse player as a kid, growing up and doing that whole thing, that was kind of a natural marriage. And I'd actually done a lot of hockey work up in the WHL, so there's a pretty close relationship between box lacrosse and hockey from like a broadcasting standpoint. So they like my work, and here we are. And I don't think anyone would have expected the LAXmetrics stuff to follow or anything that's happened, but it's been a great first season. It's been a lot of fun. It's a great organization. It's great, really fantastic, kind, intelligent people to work with. So I couldn't be more excited to be a part of it. Now, a big win this weekend would go a long way towards making things a little bit better, but we'll talk about that. Yeah.
I do have a question though. If you could give any advice to like a person like me who's an aspiring play-by-play guy, I love doing the play-by-play stuff. Give me some advice on what you would just tell any new person coming up in the world
Yeah,
of
man.
broadcasting.
There are two great pieces of advice that I got early on, and one of them is a lot easier to execute than the other. The first that you can control no matter what is always say yes. Until you get to a point where, people are constantly clamoring for you. It's kind of like having friends, right? You can only say no to your friends so much before they stop asking you to go do things with them. When you're
Mhm.
trying to get work, when you're trying to build a portfolio and a career as a broadcaster, there are plenty of people that'll want to do it. So if you have an opportunity, always try and say yes to it.
Right.
That means that there's going to be some lousy opportunities in there that you just kind of gotta do. But be a yes man. Being a yes man is always going to be something that people want to be around. The other being try and find a way to be yourself, and that's a lot more difficult to execute than the other because I think a lot of us don't really know who we are 100% through until it takes some time figuring it out. Because we all grow up listening to our favorite broadcasters, and at the beginning we all are some combination of those, men or women, what have you. uh, but what we all have is something that's completely unique. So it's finding that road between, imitating and being like the people that you admire, and then finding your own style and where that fits. And I found that stylistically, where I fall naturally is not in the same place as where a lot of my heroes and my mentors have it at other points in time. So finding that place where you're comfortable being yourself is, the second key, along with just saying yes to everything.
So I'm trying to be like Cody Jansen, Cooper Perkins, Gus Johnson, and Mike Breen all combined into one monster.
Well, if you take the best of Cody and the best of me, that means you'll be 85% Cody and 15% me. Those other two guys are,
Oh
are, are
Lord.
great, though. Well, I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Aaron.
All right, let's get into the NLL here. Speaking of the
Yeah.
Seals, yeah, you're right. You said it. A big win would be huge right now against the Rush, who also have some playoff hopes alive. But
Mhm.
losers of 5 in a row here, San Diego. What's
Mm.
going on over there? I mean, obviously you're more dialed in to the team, and we're just watching, on our streaming platforms on the TV. But it's 9-2. They were in my AM drive top 4, and I've tried as hard as I can to keep them in there. Unfortunately, they fell out. This great poll that everyone is waiting on bated breath,
Yes.
the AM Drive top 4. But what's going on over there right now, and how much would a win just get that big sigh of relief off the back of the team right now?
Fellas, I think you nailed it right there. A win would go a long way towards mellowing things out a little bit and making everyone feel more comfortable. Because losing streaks just have that horrible way of compounding on each other with each loss. It makes it seem more inevitable. I think where they're at, though, man, is a really tough spot to evaluate because it's not often that free fall kind of pops up out of nowhere. But I think that there were a couple games in there where they might have gotten exposed in an area or two, and I think they've had a tough time adjusting, whether it's personnel or just execution. And specifically on the offensive end, they've had a hard time really finding a consistent rhythm the last 7 or 8 games. Which, if you're going to win games in this league, you got to score more goals than the other
Right.
team, right? So I think they've had a tough time, relocating their identity on offense. And they've had guys come in and out of the lineup, and that's always such a silly nonsense excuse. But when you're building chemistry and you're really focused on those 2 and 3 man games that are so contingent on guys playing with each other, it was difficult when you got different faces and different bodies in there week to week. But I think this is a pretty tough game for them. I don't think Saskatchewan's gotten anywhere near the credit that they deserve for the kind of team that they have been all season. It's one thing to be a last place team. It's another thing, though, to lose 5, 6 1-goal games and
Exactly. Yep.
be, I don't think people realize just how close they are to potentially being a first place team or a last place team. I mean, they're riding that coin flip all season long. So I think, throw out the records, this game's of ultimate importance to both teams, which, breeds a great competitiveness. But, I don't know if I'd want to be the one with the losing streak going into it.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair, I think one of the last Seals games I watched was you calling the comeback when you guys beat the Rush.
All
I
right.
wanted to throw you and the whole team across it. Like, what has happened this year? Oh,
That was a wild one, man. I don't think that building down in San Diego has given us anything but great games. But I think you make a good point there that going into this third matchup, it's notoriously difficult to beat a team 3 times. We San Diego found that out again last weekend. They'd beaten Panthers City twice, and when it came down to crunch time, a couple of late goals, and next thing you know, you're 2-1 against them. So that's a Saskatchewan team that probably should have won both of those first 2 meetings. I mean, if we're calling spades, it's those were some fortunate wins for the Seals, and I don't think the Rush need to change a whole lot in their game plan, their approach, and how they want to attack things because they've had success, just not quite that last little bit they need. And to some extent, that's endemic of their season. But if I'm going into things, they're coming off a win. San Diego's coming off of 5 straight losses, and you have still a glimmer of hope at the postseason. It's maybe it's a pretty good time to be a Rush fan. You got an opportunity here at the end.
Yes, it is.
Talk to me about the expansion here in the NLL. You've obviously been keeping a close eye on it here with Panther City in the league now, probably doing better than a lot of teams or a lot of fans expected. They rattled off a nice winning streak of their own here midway through the season. And then, of course, myself, I'm based here in Las Vegas, and we've got a team coming in. So talk a little bit about Panther City and then what I should be looking forward to with the newest member of the NLL next year.
Absolutely. So Panther City's, man, I love their head coach, Tracy Koleski. He's just such an interesting, nice guy, and you can totally see why that team has rallied around him and taken to his message. It just takes 10 seconds of talking to the guy of realizing just how chips in, committed, and totally just behind the message that he is. And they've been fun. I think at times they haven't realized how bad they are, as maybe mean as that is to say, but wins are wins, and they've got themselves a chance to get into the playoffs. And I think that they're going to be interesting going forward because they're adding a lot of talent next year. They took Jonathan Donville, the top pick in the draft, knowing that he wouldn't be available this year. They made a trade for Randy Stotts, who's established and excellent in the league, and they knew he wouldn't be able to play this year. So they've got reinforcements coming to a team that's already fairly capable. I think Las Vegas is going to be fun, though, right away, because Las Vegas, I had a conversation actually with someone in the organization last weekend, and the tagline that I was told is a nightclub with a game going on. So you're going to have quite the experience if you manage to get yourself out to a game. But I think they're going to be competitive from the start, man. That's a destination spot. They're not going to have any trouble attracting free agents. I've heard a couple of rumblings here and there of some interesting possibilities, but until those come to fruition, they're still just possibilities. But nonetheless, I think the expansion has 2 routes. There's the San Diego and Panther City route, and then there's like the New York and Rochester route. And the difference between New York and Rochester and San Diego and Panther City is that those 2 areas are more destination centric. It's more interesting to go spend a weekend there, spend 8 weekends there a year. And I think Las Vegas is going to be much of the same, maybe even to a greater extent. It seems like every week when the visiting teams are coming into town in San Diego, they're here for 4 or 5 days for vacation with their families and then stick around and play the game. I feel like you're going to get a lot of that in Las Vegas, but it's just not going to be the wife and the kids. It's just going to be a good 3-4 day vacation, maybe a trip down to the books, right?
Well, Mike, I'm going to apply for some media credentials. So when I need some references, I think I'm going to put Cooper Perkins down on the.
Please do. I give you a sparkling review anytime you want it.
Woohoo! All right, Aaron. I know we talked about donuts in the past, but this one we noticed that Cooper's a burrito guy. Aaron, I know you wanted to ask this question.
That is true. I did. This was the question I was most interested in hearing the answer. No disrespect to the NLL, but it was burritos for sure. He's right. We have had a guy who in Portland, Oregon does donut tours, and you have self-proclaimed as a burrito connoisseur. So I know San Diego is famous for Mexican food. I've been there a few times, but maybe I haven't had the best burrito. So you've got to enlighten me. What is the best burrito in the San Diego area?
Oh man, everyone's got an opinion on this one, but I got a spot up by San Diego State University in what they call North Park, called Quilimas, and it's open. That beautiful thing opens at like 4:30 in the morning because there's no reason to need a burrito at 3:15. But if you need one, you got a spot for it. But they do a great burrito. They call their bandito, which is like a chili relleno and some carne asada and enchilada sauce, the whole deal.
Oof.
But if you're trying to get the order right, no matter where you are, though, you can never go wrong with a good breakfast burrito. Get
That's
some
true.
breakfast meat, some potatoes, some eggs and cheese in there, and a little salsa on the side, and you're set to go.
And what was the name of that place up by San Diego State? You said it. It started
It's
with a Q.
Colima's, Colima. Yeah, yeah.
Colima.
It's a
Good to know.
good cheap little haunt.
I
Oh, I
love that.
love it.
I will tell you this. I've been to Texas. I've been to New Mexico. I've been to southern parts of California, Arizona, and you're right. San Diego does some of the best Mexican food, and it's the only time I've ever been. I was down in Old Town, walking down there, and saw an old woman in the window hand rolling or hand making the flour tortillas, and I said, "This is authentic. This is it. If I'm not in Mexico, this is the spot right here for sure."
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful place, and those folks know how to eat down there.
Oh man,
Our
that's great.
guest today, Cooper Perkins. You can find him on Twitter at Cooper Perkins TV, the founder of LAXMetrics, and of course the Seals play-by-play guy. This was awesome. I know you didn't want to hype it up, but you've been one of the best guests we've had on, and we greatly appreciate it. And we hope to have you on again very, very soon. Maybe if the Seals capture an NLL title here.
Well, if I'm one of your best guests, you guys need to hire a new booking guy, because that's unacceptable.
Guilty.
But
no, you were awesome, and again, we greatly appreciate you taking the time. And go Seals, just not against the Rush.
No, thank you guys, and you guys are doing great stuff. It's really a pleasure to be on and just have a conversation, chat with you guys a little bit. So I appreciate it. Good luck, and cheers to a fun game this weekend. I think we're hoping for different outcomes, but competition nonetheless is a good thing.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
appreciate you.
Thank you so much.